بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقا ورشادا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعوة لا يستجاب لها. نعوذ بك اللهم من هؤلاء الأربعة. أما بعد، فحياكم الله جميعا في الدرس السابع أو الثامن، نعم، في شرح مختصر النحو المفيد للمبتدئ فيه والمعيد. ذكرنا في الدرس الماضي أنواعا وأقساما للاسم المعرفة. و just to, in fact, let's just go through a recap of all that we have done so far. So far, we have learned that the Arabic, the most important sciences that serve Arabic are Nahw, Sarf, Lugha, and Balagha. The science that we are learning right now is Nahw, which studies how the endings of words change and alter along with the change in their role in the sentence. And it also studies the structure of the sentence. So it studies words and how their endings change with the change in their roles, and it studies the structure of the sentence. So the first section of Nahw is to study the different types of words and how their endings change. In addition to the changings, and we also learn different types of classifications that would be of help to us in the science of Nahw. So now we started with the classifications. We started that a word, a kalima in Arabic, can be ism, fi'l, or harf. Then we went into the classifications of ism that are important to us in Nahw. So we said that an ism has multiple classifications. The first important attribute of ism that we should know is whether it is masculine or feminine, mudakkar or mu'annath. And why is it important? It is important in Nahw because you will use a lot of the adjectives, a lot of the words that come along with it, the fi'l that comes along with it. You have to change it in accordance with the ism being mudakkar or mu'annath, being masculine or feminine. Like in all languages, yani the style and the sentences, they require an adaptation to the gender of the one you are addressing or talking about, etc. So that is why it was important to learn that an ism can be mudhakkar and mu'annath. Then the next thing that we learned was that an ism can be mufrad or muthanna or jama'. And mufrad, muthanna, and jama' means it's important. Why is it important? Because you will alter the structure of the sentence, and the usage of the word of different words, of the fi'l of different words, will change in accordance with the number of the subjects being discussed here. So if it is mufrad, singular, then the fi'l will be likewise, and then if it is muthanna or jama', then the fi'l will have to be altered. Likewise, the adjectives, likewise other other articles or other parts of the sentence. Then we studied that an ism can be ma'rifa or nakira. Ma'rifa and nakira, ma'rifa means definite noun, something that is something particular that we are talking about, and nakira is indefinite, nothing particular, just general mention of something. Now, why is it important in Nahw? Because a lot of the different asalib and phrases require us to adapt to whether the ism in question, is it ma'rifa or is it nakira. So if it is ma'rifa, then the adjective mathalan will have an al with it. So mathalan, if you are trying to say that Zaid the wise man, Zaid the wise man, so you're not going to say so I'm going to ask you, sorry, I want to ask you, because we know that Zaid is a ma'rifa, okay? So I want to say in Arabic, Zaid the wise man. طيب. Now the word for wise will be Hakim. Now, how am I supposed to say Zaid the wise man? First of all, I need to know whether Zaid is a ma'rifa or nakira. So is it ma'rifa or is it nakira? Barakallahu fikum. Zaid.
It's معرفة.
It's ma'rifa. What type of a ma'rifa is it?
العلم.
Al-alam. It's al-alam, and that's ma'rifa. Now the adjective that I want to use with it is Hakim. Should I say Zaidun al-Hakim or should I say Zaidun Hakimun? Because the adjective is in accordance with the noun. Yani if the mawsuf is ma'rifa, the adjective also should be ma'rifa. Let me repeat that. If the mawsuf, yani the noun is ma'rifa, it's a definite noun, then the adjective should also be definite. So should I say Hakimun or should I say Al-Hakim?
Al-Hakim.
Al-Hakim. Ahsantum. Barakallahu fikum. Why? Because I want to make the adjective of Zaid ma'rifa as well. Now you see how important it is to know whether a noun is ma'rifa or nakira, because the use of the adjective depends on that noun, or depends on whether the noun is ma'rifa or nakira. I could not determine whether I should use Al-Hakim or Hakimun until I knew that Zaid was ma'rifa. And there are other such fawaid as well. طيب. With regards to the ma'rifa, we mentioned that ma'rifa is also of 6 types. We said the first type was ad-damir, which is pronouns, and then pronouns were of a lot of types, pronouns that come along, that attach to the verbs, pronouns that are objective, pronouns which also attach to the verbs, mathalan, and they also attach to other nouns. Then we had pronouns that were munfasil, separate, and they come, they're used usually in sentences which are nominal sentences containing a subject and predicate, and use them at the beginning of a sentence, etc. And then we had some ضمائر منفصلة منصوبة, which are used when the fi'l is separated by something. There is some separation between the fi'l and the object, and then that is when you have to use this ضمير منفصل منصوب. And so these are the different types of pronouns. Right now, the objective was to learn these pronouns, to know them, to know what are they called: ضمير متصل, ضمير منفصل, ضمير منصوب, ضمير مرفوع. Just to know their types. That's the objective. The use of these pronouns was mentioned so that we understand the importance of it and realize that it has some use. Like sometimes in mathematics, we used to study matrices. Now matrices, jam of matrix, and we used to ask our teacher, like, what is the use of studying matrices? So our teacher didn't have a very good answer to this. He would say, like, these are used in computers. Okay, so there's no motivation that these matrices are going to come into some practical use for us as individuals, and then the motivation goes. So when you're learning something and you know a little bit about its use and how important it is, mathalan, or you just get an idea, and the vagueness and the ambiguity goes away. That is something that is that a person looks forward to, or he is eager to achieve. Right. Now, then we moved on to, after Damair, we moved on to Al-Alam. Al-Alam, we said it's a proper noun, name of a person, place, or animal. It can also be a name of a thing, but that is, seldom does it happen. Usually people give names to animals, they give names to places, of course, every place, and or the cities and the countries, and the people have names for themselves. Then we moved on to Ism al-Ishara. Ism al-Ishara was demonstrative noun, which was like هذا, ذلك, or هذه, تلك, وهذان, or ذانك, هاتان, تانك, and هؤلاء, أولئك, and هؤلاء, أولئك. So these were the nouns that are used to point out or point at things. هذا, ذاك, ذلك, وهكذا. طيب. And then we moved on to al-Ism al-Mawsul, which is known as relative noun. And that is like when you say in English, mathalan, I met the person who gave the lecture. I met the person who gave the lecture. Who is the relative noun in English. So likewise, we use the word used for this in Arabic is الذي أو التي أو اللذان أو اللتان أو الذين for both masculine and feminine nouns. And this is a usloob, a phrase that is used more often in Arabic. Yani in English, we don't really use it very often, the word who or what or that, not very often this phrase is used, but in Arabic, it's very common to use. In Amiya Arabic, in the slang Arabic, they use instead of alladhi, instead of alladhi, they use illi. يقول اللي قال لك اللي يقول لك اللي شفتها. They use illi for everyone. for الذي, for التي, for اللذان, for الذين. يعني for everyone they use illi. يعني even if it is for الذين, they will say اللي جاوا يعني those who came. So for slang Arabic, this is a nice shortcut. You use يعني اللي قال لك, اللي قالت لك, اللي شفتها, اللي جاوا, يعني plural, singular, masculine, feminine, كلها تمشي. طيب بعد ما انتهينا من الاسم الموصول, and طبعا it's important to know that اسم الإشارة is مضاف إليه. So you're going to say اسم الإشارة, the noun of إشارة, اسم الإشارة. And this one, the الاسم الموصول is الاسم الموصول, the relative pronoun, relative noun. So here this is an adjective. Okay, this is any relative noun. And this one is not an adjective here. This is مضاف إليه, يعني the noun of إشارة. هكذا, or demonstration. So this is not al-ism al-ishara, this is ism al-ishara. Some people, what do? When they hear ism al-ishara, they say ism al-mawsul. خطأ. تقول al-ism al-mawsul. You should say al-ism al-mawsul. So many people, they make this mistake. Also, they make mistakes مثلا with like madrasa. They say مثلا مدرسة الثانوية. خطأ. مدرسة الثانوية, they make this mistake. This is wrong. You should say al-madrasa al-thanawiyya, because this is an adjective. So if the noun, you have to make the noun ma'rifah as well. If you make the adjective ma'rifah, this is all, inshallah, that's something that we will learn later on. But right now, the tanbih was related to ismul ishara and al-ismul mawsul. Ismul ishara and al-ismul mawsul. طيب الآن ننتقل إلى القسم الخامس من بارك الله فيكم, القسم الخامس من أقسام المعرفة, the fifth type of معرفة, and that is المعرف بال. المعرف بال. Looking at this title, what do you think we are referring to? المعرف بال. Just looking at the title of this, what do you think we are referring to?
The kind of noun that becomes معرفة because of addition of al.
ممتاز. يعني right now we are mentioning exactly المعرف, something that has been made معرف. يعني المعرف, if you want to translate it like in a يعني nuanced way, you can say معرفized. معرفized by al. يعني it was made a معرفة by al. يعني it was made into a definite noun. معرف. يعني معرف means something that is made معرفة. So al-mu'arraf, that is something that is ma'rifized. So ma'rifized by using al. So it was actually a nakira, and a nakira like a kitab, like kitabun, and you add al to it, and it becomes al-kitab. Now, this is also a type of ma'rifa. We mentioned that ma'rifa is something that does not accept an al, and nakira is something that accepts an al. So this is nakira. Why? Because you can add al here. But this one is ma'rifah because you cannot say al-kitab, right? Because that is wrong to say al-kitab, that is ma'rifah. Likewise, this was true for all of the types of ma'rifah that we had learned, including dhama'ir. You cannot say al-huwa or al-hiya. Alam, مثلا, alam depends. يعني, sometimes al is used in a different context, but يعني, generally the alam, you cannot add al to it if it doesn't have one. Like Makkah, you cannot say al-Makkah, etc. and likewise يعني اسم الإشارة ال هذا ال هذه ما يجي ما يمشي. كذلك الذي you cannot say ال الذي. likewise المعرف بال الكتاب you cannot say ال الكتاب. لحظة 1 second. طيب الآن يا إخوان المعرف بال اقرأ يا من يقرأ لنا بارك الله فيكم. طيب ما في مشكلة. أبو بكر is leaving because he has مغرب over there. So brother علي إن شاء الله عندك لو عندك فرصة.
Yeah, I can read إن شاء الله.
بارك الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أما بعد، قال المصنف حفظه الله: المعرف بال هو ما كان نكرة فزيد فيه ال ليصير معرفة، نحو الكتاب، الماء، القلم، البقرة.
بارك الله فيك. أحسنت. هو ما كان نكرة. نكرة it was نكرة فزيد فيه ال it was كان means it was. هو يعني it is it ما it is that which was. Now this is relative pronoun here. You see relative noun. That's one of the types we mentioned in relative noun was ما for غير عاقل, من for عاقل, and الذي for any of the two. So this is the relative noun here. This is ما because it's غير عاقل here معرف. We're not talking about a person. ما كان نكرة which was a نكرة فزيد فيه ال, so an ال was added to it ليصير for it to become. صار يصير means become. ليصير معرفة to become a معرفة. So it became a معرفة. نحو الكتاب, الماء, القلم, البقرة. So it was كتاب, it became الكتاب. It was ماء, it became الماء. قلم, القلم. بقرة, البقرة. So all of these are معرفة, definite nouns. You're referring to something particular, and you cannot add al to it. You cannot say al الكتاب or al الماء or al القلم or al البقرة. نعم. نقرأ الآن المضاف إلى معرفة. This is the sixth type of معرفة. Sixth and last. نعم.
المضاف إلى معرفة: الإضافة نسبة الشيء إلى آخر لتخصيصه به، نحو قلم زيد، ورب السماوات، وباب حديد، وصوم النهار. والمركب الإضافي يتركب من كلمتين هما المضاف والمضاف إليه. ففي الأمثلة السابقة كل من قلم ورب وباب وصوم مضاف، وكل من زيد وسماوات وحديد والنهار مضاف إليه.
أحسنت بارك الله فيك. طيب المضاف إلى معرفة. المضاف, first of all we want to understand what is this مضاف and مضاف إليه. Then we will talk about what is مضاف إلى معرفة. So مضاف and مضاف إليه is an أسلوب in Arabic, and that's the definition. We said al-idafa. This is the name of the uslub, al-idafa. This uslub in Arabic is, what does it mean? It's nisbatu shay'i. Nisbah means to attribute something, to attribute it. Nisbatu shay'i ila akhara, to something else, akhara yani another thing, to another, yani attributing something to another. لتخصيصه به, because it is exclusive to it مثلا. So now يعني قلم زيد, you are attributing this qalam to Zayd because it belongs exclusively to Zayd. Or رب السماوات, you are attributing Rabb because he Rabb to the samawat, because he is the sama, he is the Rabb of the samawat. Okay, he's the Rabb of the samawat. تخصيصه به, تخصيص doesn't mean like totally absolute exclusivity. It means something that is particular to someone, something that is particular to someone. So رب السماوات, and in this context we mean like يعني the Rabb of يعني the samawat يعني he's the Rabb of the samawat يعني يعني you want to يعني make a sort of a specific mention of samawat even though he's the Rabb al-alamin and Rabb of everything, but here in this context يعني you are specifying a samawat for some reason. You want to mention a samawat or emphasize on it more than others, so you are يعني as if you're implying that Allah is exclusively or he's the Rabb of exclusively the samawat, يعني only the samawat, but even though he's the Rabb al-alamin, but because you wanted to highlight that he is the Rabb of the samawat here, so as if you are saying he's the Rabb exclusively of the samawat. طيب وباب حديد, bab made of hadid, يعني a door made of metal, باب حديد, and وصوم النهار, fast of the day. Now in English, يعني what is this usluba? How do we translate it in English? It's the things for which you use off. Wherever you can use off, that is the or generally when you use off, especially to denote some sort of a possession or denote some sort of exclusivity, that is the uslub of al-idafa. So مثلا قلم زيد, you can translate it as pen of Zaid, and I'm keeping it to off. Why? Because so that we only have one translation for it, even though yani, we can say that things in which you use apostrophe s, that is idafa, but there are other things like babu hadidin. You cannot say metal's door. You cannot say that in English. You'd rather say door of metal, door made of metal. Now, so that is why I'm keeping it to off, so that we stick with one translation. We stick with one translation, even though it doesn't sound very nice, pen of Zaid, but let's just stick to one translation. So off is the key. Off is the key. قلم زيد, pen of Zaid. رب السماوات, Lord of the heavens. Lord of the heavens. طيب. باب حديد, door of metal. صوم النهار, fast of the day. يعني fasting during the day. واضح؟ طيب. For those who understand a little bit of grammar, يعني they have some background, if they know what is jar and majroor, if they know the meaning of majroor is a mode, يعني, and we mentioned this before as well. Like we have marfu', which is usually used for subjects like the doer, or subject or the doer. And on the other hand, we have mansoob, and mansoob is a status, or it's a yani, state in which a word is, which is usually used when it is in objective form. And majroor is the state in which a word is when it is used with prepositions. So we mentioned examples of this, maybe we mentioned like fi. After fi, the word that comes after it goes into a state of jar, it becomes majroor at the word. So you say fillahi, afillahi, right? Likewise, you say مثلا أنا أذاهب إلى المدرسة. So the word is in majroor state. Why is it in majroor state? Because it came after a preposition. This is called majroor state. Now, in this uslub of idafa, the second word, the word that comes after the first one, it is in majroor state. It goes into majroor state. Why is it being used with some sort of a preposition? I don't see any preposition here. Is there any preposition? Is there any harf jar here in qalamu zaydin? There is no harf jar. We're not saying qalamun li zaydin, rabbun lis samawati, أو الباب للحديد أو من حديد من حديد. We're not saying الصوم في النهار. We're not saying all of this stuff, right? There are no prepositions. Yet we find that the second word, which is called Mudaaf ilayh, 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 we notice that it is going into a state of jar. So it has kasratain, kasra, kasra, kasratain. It's going to a state of jar. So why is that the case? That is because Mudaaf ilayh any word that is mudaf ilayh, that comes second in the usloob of idafa, that comes later in the usloob of mudafa, it's always in a state of jar. It's always in a state of jar. So you can add to this here, we said with prepositions, you can add to this, and when it is mudaf ilayh. And in reality, mudaf ilayh is actually majroor because it is being used with preposition, but that's the reality of things. I mean, that's what happens in behind the scenes. So behind the scenes, what's going on? Qalamu Zaydin was actually al-qalamu li Zaydin. So we had a preposition here. Lam means for. Al-qalamu li Zaydin. So the Arabs, they always seek, they always are eager to get rid of words. They are always eager to get rid of additional words that they can do away with, and shorten and summarize and keep the kalam concise. So what do? What did they do? They removed the al, they removed the lam, and they said we're going to say qalamu Zaydin. So in reality, this Zaydin was majroor because of this preposition. In reality, that was what went behind the scenes. But just to simplify, we say that mudaf ilayh is always majroor. The reality is that because there was some sort of there was some sort of a harf jar, some sort of a preposition here in reality, that's what made Zayd majroor. Rabbus samawati actually meant ar-rabbu lis-samawati. That is what it actually meant. But in order to keep it concise, they removed the al, they removed the extra lam, which was the preposition which means for, and we had rabbus samawati. So what made it have a kasra, what made it majroor was this lam, but this lam was removed and the kasra remained. Likewise, babu hadidin was actually or was actually babun li hadidin, or al-babu li hadidin, or al-babu min hadid. Sorry, babun min hadidin. It was actually like this. It was babun min hadidin. Now, what made it have a kasra, or what made it in the state of jar, was this min. It was removed to keep it concise. Sawmun nahari actually means as-sawmu fin nahari. It actually means as-sawmu fin nahari. Keeping things concise, we remove the al, we remove the fi, and it became sawmun nahari. واضح يا إخوان? So this is the reality of idafa. What in English, keep it to always with this word mudaf. Whenever you hear the word mudaf, or you hear the word idafa, or you hear the word mudaf ilayh, remember one word for qalamu Zaydin. Sorry, not for, of. Remember one word, that is of. Qalamu Zaydin, pen of Zayd. Rabbus samawati, Lord of the heavens. Babu hadidin, door of metal. Sawmun nahari, fast of. So remember this word of. Wherever you hear mudaf, mudaf ilayh, mudaf and mudaf ilayh, or idafa. Wherever you hear these words, remember the word of. Bas. That's it. Okay, Shabab, pen of Zayd, Lord of the worlds, or Lord of the heavens, door of hadid, وهكذا. طيب. Al-murakkab al-idafi. What are we referring to this by this term? Al-murakkab. Murakkab means compound. So you have compound words, right? Sometimes in English, compound. I think they use this word compound nouns or compound something. When there are two or more words, they join up to make one word. So this is called murakkab. Tarkib means to install or to fix together or join together. So murakkab is something that is joined together. So al-murakkab al-idafi, this compound that is related to idafa, Idafa means this usloob that is related to this phrase and this style in Arabic, al-murakkab al-idafi. Yatarakkab, it is made up of. Yatarakkab, it's made up of two words, always two words. So what are those two words? Al-mudaf and al-mudaf ilayh. Yani mudaf means the one being attributed to something, and mudaf ilayh means the thing it is being attributed to. What it is being attributed to. Yani attributed to. So it's being attributed. So qalam is the thing that is being attributed. Who is it being attributed to? It is being attributed to Zaid. So which one is mudaf and which one is mudaf ilayh, ya shabab? Which one is mudaf in qalam and which one is mudaf ilayh?
Qalam is mudaf.
Qalam is mudaf. Barakallahu fikum.
Zaid is mudaf ilayhi.
Zaid is mudaf ilayhi. Barakallahu fik. طيب. In Rabbu samawati, which one is mudaf? Which one is mudaf ilayhi?
Rabbu mudaf, samawat mudaf ilayhi.
Mumtaz. In Babu Hadid, which one is mudaf? Which one is mudaf ilayhi?
Babu mudaf, hadid mudaf ilayhi.
Ahsant. In Sawm al-Nahar, kadhalik, which one?
Sawm mudaf, nahar
أحسنت.
mudaf ilayhi.
أحسنت. فتح الله عليكم. جميل جدا. إذن يا إخوة, these are the mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. Mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. These are the two, you can say, components of this usloob and style of idafa. These are the two components which make up this mudaf and this usloob of idafa. It's an usloob that is amongst the languages that I know, this is exclusive to Arabic. In other languages, we always tend to use preposition. Yani in English, we use prepositions like off or during or from or for. You know, you always use preposition in English. And also in Urdu, we also use prepositions always. Ka, ke, ki. So it does this idafa in this way, it does not exist in the languages, at least which I know. يعني نعم. طيب ففي الأمثلة السابقة, in the previously mentioned أمثلة, examples, يعني مثال, جمع مثال أمثلة سابقة. سبق يسبق means something that has come, that has preceded, that has come before. كل من القلم, each one of, كل من means each one of قلم, رب, باب, صوم is مضاف, and each one of زيد, سماوات, حديد, نهار is مضاف إليه. An easy way to remember this is the first word is that the first word is mudaf, the second word is mudaf ilayhi. First one is mudaf, second one is mudaf ilayhi. And does anyone remember when I mentioned that one of these mudaf or mudaf ilayhi is always in the state of a state that is called majroor? So which one is it? Is it mudaf or is it mudaf ilayhi? That is always in the state of majroor. This is an addition. It's always mudaf ilayhi that is in the state of majroor. It's always mudaf ilayhi. The second word that is in the state of jarr. It's always mudaf ilayhi. I'm repeating this so that you, inshallah, it stays intact in your mind. Always that is majroor is mudaf ilayhi. Mudaf can vary. The first word can vary in accordance with what it what comes before it. But mudaf ilayhi, the second word, will always be majroor, will always be majroor, will always be majroor. What is majroor? That is what we will inshallah learn in the next mas'ala, that is the fourth classification of ism. طيب نقرأ هنا أخي علي. يلاحظ في الأمثلة المذكورة
يلاحظ في الأمثلة المذكورة أمران خاصان بالمركب الإضافي. الأول المضاف خال من ال ومن التنوين. الثاني المضاف إليه يكون مجرورا دائما. وسيأتي بيان ما هو المجرور في المسألة التالية إن شاء الله. فإذا تبين هذا فاعلم أن ما كان مضافا إلى معرفة فإنه أيضا معرفة. ففي الأمثلة السابقة كل من قلم ورب وصوم معارف لأنها مضافة إلى معارف.
أحسنت. بارك الله فيك. يلاحظ. إيش معنى يلاحظ يا شباب? This is something that we just learned a week ago maybe. يلاحظ. This is a word we used before. يلاحظ. ملاحظة يلاحظ لوحظ يلاحظ ملاحظة.
To present, will be presented.
No, it's to be observed. يلاحظ يعني to observe. It is observed. It is observed. يلاحظ. It is observed. What is observed? Observed in the previous in the mentioned examples. أمثلة مذكورة. مذكورة from ذكر يعني something that has been mentioned. What is observed? We observe two matters. أمران. Two matters. Is مثنى جمع or مفرد? This is
مثنى.
مثنى. And what's the مفرد of this?
أمر.
And what will be the جمع of this?
أمرون.
أمور. أمور. أوامر or أمور. أوامر or أمور. Usually when we use the word أمر for matter, usually the جمع that we use is أمور. أمور يعني matters. And when we use the word أمر for as in command, then usually the جمع that we use is أوامر. واضح يا إخوان؟ يعني that's the usual usage. It might يعني one might choose the other one. I'm not sure if that is that should always be the case, but that's how it's used usually. Like give you an example. مثلا بيت. The word بيت means a house, and it also means a line of poetry, right? Like one line of poetry is called بيت. So usually in, I think, contemporary Arabic, or even in the amongst the classical scholars, you will find that bait, when they want to refer to a house, they will use the jam' buyut. And when it comes to the line of poetry, they will use the jam' abiyat. Right? But in some of the hadith, I found that abiyat was also used for houses. So this can be changed, but many times, they specify the jam' to something, some particular meaning instead of the other. So amrani, so we observe here two matters which are khas, specific, exclusive, khassani bil murakkab al-idafi, which are exclusive to al murakkab al-idafi. What is murakkab idafi? This is murakkab idafi. Rabbu samawat, qalamu zaydin, babu hadid. Murakkab means compound, and two words together. Okay, these are murakkab idafi. So what are the two matters that we are observing here? Number one, al-mudaaf. Which one is mudaaf? The first word or the second word?
First.
The first word. خال. إيش معنى خالي? خال means خالي, يعني الخالي. What is خالي?
Empty.
Empty. Empty, void. خالي, empty, void. خال من al. It is void. It is empty. It's free of and it's void of al. It does not have al, nor does it have tanween. Something to be observed here. You see? قلم زيد. It didn't have al, but it didn't also have tanween. We did not say قلم زيد. We said قلم زيد. طيب. كذلك رب السماوات. We did not say الرب. We did not say رب. كذلك باب حديد. We did not say الباب. We did not say باب. صوم النهار. We did not say الصوم or صوم. طيب. So there is no al, there is no tanween. Seldom does this happen. And usually the ism in Arabic, either it has al or it has tanween. And generally the normal common nouns. I'm not talking about the pronouns and the ism al-ishara and ism al-mawsul. The common nouns, right? So they usually have either al or tanween. But here, the same nouns that generally have a tanween or al, like bab, if you just mention it out of the murakkab idafi, you will say either al-bab, you will say babun. Yani either of the two. But when it comes into the murakkab idafi, ما في tanween, ما في al. طيب. Number two, al-mudafu ilayhi yakunu majruran daiman. Which one is al-mudaf ilayh?
The second one.
The second one, al-mudafu ilayhi yakunu majruran daiman. وسيأتي, and it will come. What will come? Bayan. Any explanation. Bayan means explanation, mention, وسيأتي بيان ما هو المجرور. What is مجرور؟ في المسألة التالية in the following issue, in the following مسألة we will explain what is مجرور إن شاء الله. فإذا تبين هذا, so when this becomes clear, تبين means to become clear, to become بين. بين means يعني something that is clear. آيات بينات, بينات يعني some clear آيات, right? So تبين means to become بين. فاعلم, if what we have mentioned has become clear, فاعلم أن ما كان مضافا إلى معرفة. Now this is why we studied this أسلوب of إضافة. We studied this أسلوب of إضافة in order to be able to judge whether the مضاف is معرفة or not. So with regards to السماوات, لحظة, let me start with let me start with Zayd. With regards to Zayd, is it معرفة or is it not معرفة?
It's معرفة.
It's معرفة. It's علم, right? Right. السماوات, is it معرفة or is it not معرفة?
السماوات on its own is معرفة.
On its own, yes. السماوات. السماوات is معرفة, right? What type of معرفة is it? The one that we did today?
معرفة بالال.
المعرف بال. أحسنت. حديد معرفة ولا ما هو معرفة؟
That's not معرفة.
No, this is not معرفة. ممتاز, because it can accept al. You can say al-hadid, and right now you're not saying that, it's حديد. It's not معرفة. ممتاز. أنها معرفة أم ليس معرفة؟
معرفة.
معرفة. What type of معرفة is it?
Because it has al.
المعرف بال. ممتاز.
المعرف بال.
ممتاز. فاعلم أن ما كان. Now we know زيد, السماوات, حديد, نهار. We know these are all معارف because we know the different types of معرفة. But we have a question with regards to قلم. قلم is in معرفة, is رب معرفة, is باب معرفة, is صوم معرفة. So how do we know that? That's the ruling with regards to this is فاعلم أن ما كان مضافا إلى معرفة فإنه أيضا معرفة. It also, أيضا means also. So whatever is مضاف إلى معرفة, it also is معرفة. So here in the examples that we mentioned here, so is قلم معرفة?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Because it is مضاف إلى معرفة. Because the مضاف إليه of قلم is Zayd, and Zayd is معرفة. So قلم will also be معرفة. رب السماوات. Now the question is رب معرفة or not معرفة? In order to know that, we will look at السماوات. So samawat is معرفة, hence Rabbu is also
معرفة.
ممتاز. باب حديد, is باب معرفة or not معرفة?
باب is نكرة.
باب is not معرفة, صحيح, it will be nakira. But it's not, يعني in the philosophy of Nahw, they say that it is not a pure nakira, it is a, you can say, diluted nakira. And this has, I'm not just just throwing complicated things at you. This has something to do. This has some sort of an effect on the sentences and on some rulings with regards to Nahw. Because they say now you have specified a little bit that it is made of metal. So they say it does not remain a pure nakira. It is now a slightly diluted nakira. But anyways, it is not ma'rifa. It is still nakira. Mumtaz. Sawmun nahari. Is sawmu ma'rifa or not ma'rifa?
معرفة.
لماذا? Why is it ma'rifa?
Because its meaning معرفة and also nahar with al.
خلونا من المعنى. Just let us now ignore the meaning. Let us just focus on the mudaf ilayh. Let us say sawm is ma'rifa because the mudaf ilayh of sawm is ma'rifa. يعني mudaf ilayh of sawm means an-nahar is ma'rifa. So that is why sawm is ma'rifa. That's what we are focusing on right now. Mumtaz. ففي الأمثلة السابقة كل من قلم ورب وصوم معارف. معارف يعني جمع معرفة لأنها مضافة إلى معارف because they are also مضاف for معارف. واضح يا إخوان؟ So this is مضاف إليه and this is the ruling with regards to the مضاف إلى معرفة. المضاف إليه, whenever these two words come to mind, remember the English word of. And remember that the first word is called مضاف, the second word is called مضاف إليه. Another thing to remember, يعني point number 1 is off, point number 2 is that the first word is called مضاف, second word is called مضاف إليه. Point number 3 to remember is that مضاف does not have al, does not have tanween. Point number 4, مضاف إليه is always majroor. Majroor, you can make a kasra or kasratain. Just to remember, and these are the important points with regards to this. And point number 5 to remember here is that if مضاف إليه is ma'rifah, then مضاف will also be ma'rifah. So these are 5 points that you need to remember with regards to this topic. This is the khulasa of this topic. طيب. نقرأ الآن المسألة يعني نقول الهمة يعني هذه أهم مسألة. It's the most important مسألة with regards to the first section of Nahw. This is what Nahw is all about. إعراب, مرفوع, منصوب, مجرور. That is what Nahw is all about. And the rest of the things, they revolve around this مسألة. This is the most important مسألة يعني from this section, at least related to اسم. This is called المسألة طبعا الرابعة. This is المسألة related to معرب and مبني. طيب نقرأ يا أخي علي المسألة الرابعة.
المسألة الرابعة انقسام الاسم إلى معرب ومبني وبيان أقسام الاسم المعرب وعلامات إعرابها. المعرب هو اللفظ الذي يتغير آخره باختلاف العوامل التي تعمل فيه وباختلاف موقعه الإعرابي نحو زيد. والمبني هو اللفظ الذي لا يتغير آخره باختلافهما نحو هذا. وليتبين لك ذلك لاحظ الأمثلة الآتية.
أحسنت. المسألة الرابعة انقسام الاسم يعني this is another classification now. Now we have had 3 classifications so far. We said مذكر مؤنث, مفرد مثنى جمع. We said the last one was معرفة النكرة, and number 4 is now معرب and مبني. You might remember something about إعراب from the first dars, and we mentioned that معرب is something that changes, that undergoes some sort of a change because of the change in the words that come before it, or because of the change in its role in the sentence. You see, and that is exactly what we have mentioned here in Arabic. It's هو اللفظ الذي يتغير آخره. It is that word whose endings آخره, whose ending changes. يتغير means changes. طيب يتغير يتغير to change. It changes. When does it change? It changes B means يعني with. It changes with اختلاف, with the change or difference, اختلاف, difference in العوامل. عوامل we said means factors, things that influence, things that have some sort of an effect on the word. And in English, maybe they refer to it in grammar as syntactical governors. Nothing that I have actually studied myself, but it's just something that I Googled in order to understand like how to translate al-awamil. So I saw this word that was being used, syntactical governors. Inshallah, with examples, we'll explain what exactly these awamil are. So to make it simple, to simplify it, awamil means words that have an effect on the word on the subject or on the word in question. So any word that has an effect on the word in question. طيب التي تعمل فيه that act upon it يعني have some sort of an effect on it. And this اختلاف, this change that occurs, so it occurs because of the change in these words, and it also occurs باختلاف موقعه الإعرابي. موقع means position, and by موقع إعرابي here we are not referring to position, actually we are referring to the role in the sentence. نحو زيد. زيد is the example of a mu'rab word. What is mabni? Mabni is opposite to mu'rab. So if these things change, if the words that have an effect, yani the awamil, they change, or the role in the sentence changes, this word that is mabni, it will not change, like hada. Now with examples things will become clear, but just to summarize what we have learned so far, the things that sort of have an effect on another word is awamil, and it's a term. Awamil, just keep this in mind. Awamil, yani words that have an effect, and the role in the sentence. So these are the two things that can have an effect on some word and change it. So if it changes, it's called mu'rab. If it does not change at all, it is called mabni. Okay, mabni means like built, firmly built. You can say mabni means something that is built, and that's why we call it. When something is built, it stays put. It doesn't. It doesn't move. It doesn't change. That's why we call it mabni. Mu'rab is why do we call it mu'rab? Because it has i'rab. And what is i'rab? I'rab means to express yourself. I'rab means ifsah, to express yourself. So because these words, they are used to express the different roles in the sentence, Zaydun, Zaydan, Zaydin, use it in different ways, and maybe to be more expressive, so that's why these are called mu'rab. Okay, let's look at the examples. Examples are going to make things very, very interesting. Now, we said we have 4 things to focus on. We did not say that, let's say it. We have to focus on on a word that is mu'rab and a word that is mabni. So what is the mu'rab word here? The mu'rab word here is Zayd. The mabni word here is hada. We have to focus on things that are called awamil. Awamil means things that, those words that have sort of an effect, or anything that has an effect on the ism. And on the 4th thing that we have to focus on is al-mawqi' al-i'rabi. So these are the 4 things mentioned in the table. Now the first sentence is barakallahu fikum. Zaydun abidun. And the second sentence is هذا عابد. طيب. زيد عابد هذا عابد. What is the amil here? What is the thing that caused Zayd to have dhammatain? What caused it to have dhammatain? It is something that is called ibtida. Ibtida means being the subject. Zayd being the subject, that was what made it have dhammatain. If it wasn't the subject, it was the object, مثلا, or it was something else, مثلا, then it wouldn't have had dhammatain. It would have had some other haraka. Okay. For now, let us just ignore this example for now, because right now it might be a little difficult to understand. Let's move on to the second example, because second, third, fourth examples are more easier to understand. طيب. عبد زيد ربه. That's the first sentence. Where is the mu'rab word here? The mu'rab word which changes, that we are actually discussing, is Zayd. That's mu'rab. Mu'rab means it changes. It changes. It's subject to change in accordance with the change in the awamil or in the mawqi' i'rab. The second sentence that we have, and which we are comparing with abada zaydun rabbahu, we have abada hada rabbahu. What does this mean, abada zaydun rabbahu? It means Zayd worshipped his Lord. Abada hada rabbahu. This man, this worshipped his Lord. Okay. Now, First question. What makes Zaid have dhammatain? What makes Zaid have dhammatain? What is the amil here? What is the factor that thing that has an effect? What is it? It's the fi'al madi, the past tense fi'al that is here. This is what caused Zaid to have dhammatain. What was its role in the sentence? The role in the sentence is fa'il. Fa'il means doer. These are the two factors combined which caused Zaid to have dhammatain. Okay. Now let's move on to the next example. Make things more clear. Observe the two examples. Ra'a Muhammadun Zaidan. Ra'a means saw. Yani Muhammad saw Zaid. Ra'a Muhammadun hadha. Muhammad saw this man or this thing. Okay, these are the two words in question. Now you see Zaidan here. In the previous example, what was the haraka at the end of Zaid? Hi Shabab. In the previous example, what was the haraka that Zaid had at the end of it?
ضمتين.
Dhammatain. Or let's just call it dhamma. In Nahw, we don't say dhammatain, kasratain, fathatain. We say dhammatain, fathatain, kasratain in tajweed. That is because we read them as a tanween, right? In Nahw, the dhammatain and the single dhamma all are called dhamma. All are called dhamma because the noon sound, because that is because in reality there are no two dhammas. You see, it's only one dhamma. There is this noon sound that is the addition. So that's why the Nahwis, they're very technical when it comes to this. But they don't call it dhammatain, they only call it dhamma. Because in Zaidun, what happens here? Zaidun. That's the sound of Zaidun, right? So this is the addition here, right? Dhamma is one. So that's why whether there is dhammatain or whether there is one dhamma like in al-kitabu, you will always find the Nahwiyin say dhamma. In tajweed or while teaching the recitation of the Quran, because we have symbolized tanween with double characters. So if we have a tanween of dhamma, we write two dhammas, or we write two fathas if we have tanween with fatha, or two kasras. So because we use this symbol to represent the tanween in those words or in this form, so to make it easy for the reader and for him to point out and differentiate between single dhamma and double dhamma and its sound, we say dhammatain, fathatain, kasratain. So this is something that I realized later on, like subhanallah, why don't they use the word dhammatain when there is a clear difference? But that is because it's not written. It's in reality only one dhamma. It's just the addition is the noon sound. طيب المهم نرجع الآن. رأى محمد زيدا. So Zaid had, in the first sentence he had a dhamma. In the second sentence he has a fatha. عبد هذا ربه. رأى محمد هذا. Is there any change occurring here?
No.
No, there is no change. عبد هذا ربه. رأى محمد هذا. هذا. But Zaid underwent a change. Zaidun became Zaidan. طيب. Now, what caused these changes? Let's have a look. What's the thing that has an effect? Fi'al madi again, because that's the thing that is working on Zaid and it's working on Muhammad as well. But it was the role in the sentence that varied. Before it was fa'il, it was the doer. Now it was the object. He was the one upon whom the word was being applied. So because he was maf'ul bihi, there was a change because of the change in the role in the sentence. Hada did not change. Why? Because it's Mabni. Mabni is a word that is stubborn, robust, doesn't change, never. Ra'a Muhammadun hada. Hada will remain steadfast upon haqq. Mujahid fi sabil al-Nahw. So it never changes. But Zaidun, because it's mu'rab, miskin, he changes, he goes with the wind. He changes along with the changes around him. So be like هذا and don't be like Zayd. Be steadfast upon Islam and don't bother about the changes around you. You should be Mabni and not Mu'rab. If you are upon the right path, طبعا. طيب. رأى محمد زيدا رأى محمد هذا. You see now how Zaydan changed? It changed because of one of the two factors. The يعني فعل ماضي remained constant here, but the role in the sentence changed. So first he was fa'il, so he had dhamma. Now he was maf'ul, so he has fatha. Now let us observe the last example, that is marartu bi Zaydin. Marartu bi Zaydin. Okay, now what does marartu bi Zaydin mean? It means that I passed by Zayd. طبعا marartu. And where is the I here? The ta. The ta is the I. And marar is the fi'l madi. So this is the fi'l, this is the fa'il. Remember, this is the fi'l, this is the fa'il. طيب. marartu bi Zaydin. And by is the letter ba, and Zayd is Zayd. طيب. Now, the second example, the one that we are comparing the first one with, is marartu bi hada. So now again we try to observe some change that has occurred in the two words. So is there any change that has occurred in Zayd, and is there any change that has occurred in hada?
So Zayd has kasra and hada is still the same.
Yeah, ممتاز. Zayd has got a kasra now. In contrast to what it had in previous examples, it had a dhamma first, and it had a fatha. Now suddenly it has a kasra. maratu bi hada remains hada. Hada remains hada. Now, what caused this change? What caused this change was this harf jar. Harf jar is another word for prepositions. Prepositions. So this harf jar, what was the harf jar here? Here, the ba. This ba is what caused Zayd to have kasratain. This is what caused the change. Marartu bi hada, it was supposed to cause a change, but hada was too stubborn to change. And that is the difference between mu'rab and mabni. Mu'rab changes with the change in the amil and with the change in the role on the sentence. But mabni remains steadfast, does not change, whether the amil changes, whether the mawqi' i'rabi, which is the role in the sentence, changes. واضح يا اخوان? Is this clear? What is the difference between mu'rab and mabni?
Yes, it's clear.
Alhamdulillah. Now, it's important to always remember that there are two things that will bring a change. Either amil or the role in the sentence, or both of them together. You see? Now, if you see here, the amil was fi'l madi, was constant here. What brought the change in Zaydun, what made it Zaydan? It was the role in the sentence, right? In Zaydun abidun, what makes Zayd have a dhamma? It is the ibtida. Ibtida being the subject. Mawqi' i'rabi, what's the role in the sentence? The role in the sentence is mubtada. Mubtada means the subject. So because it is a subject, it will have dhamma. Hada remains hada in all examples. It doesn't show any change. It doesn't show any change. واضح يا اخوان? It remains the way it is. This is mad. So mu'rab are those words that undergo some change with the change in the amil or with the change in the role in the sentence. Mabni are those words that don't undergo any change. So what do we want to do here? So we had this classification of ism. We said it can either be mu'rab or it can be mabni. So that's what we're learning here. First we have understood what is mu'rab, and we have understood what is mabni. We have also understood how mu'rab changes. So these are the two things that we have learned so far. Now what are we going to learn next is the most important thing in Nahw. They should be memorized like one's name. This table should be like, this picture of this table should remain in our heart, which in our minds and in our hearts whenever we think of them, inshallah. The one that is going to come on the next page, inshallah. But first let's read the last few lines. نعم اقرأ يا أخي. فنلاحظ في زيد.
فنلاحظ في زيد الذي هو معرب تغيرات باختلاف العوامل والموقع الإعرابي، بينما لا نلاحظ أي تغير في هذا الذي هو مبني.
أحسنت. نلاحظ we observe. نلاحظ now we observe in زيد which is معرب. الذي هو معرب which is معرب. What do we observe in it? We observe changes. تغيرات يعني changes. باختلاف. When do these changes occur? With the change in the عامل and with the change in the role in the sentence. موقع الإعرابي. بينما means whereas. Sorry. Whereas supposed to be written together. Whereas لا نلاحظ, we do not observe any change in the word هذا الذي هو which is مبني. طيب. ولإعراب الأسماء.
ولإعراب الأسماء 3 أحكام. الأول الرفع، والثاني والنصب والجر الخفض.
جر أو الخفض. جر can also be called خفض. So some call it jar, some call it خفض. I don't remember now. The grammarians of Basra, I think they call it خفض, and the grammarians of Kufa, they call it jar. So this is like it's always like in Nahw, it's always the Basris and the Kufis. They are the ones who are the fathers of Nahw. They are the ones who made this, came up with this science of knowledge. This is like they observe what goes on, and then we had this madrasa Kufiya and then madrasa Basriya. These are the two main madrasas, two main schools of thoughts of Nahw. So they have their own philosophies of Nahw. They are not like totally apart from each other. There are some things where they differ with each other. So the Basri philosophy of Nahw is generally, it's a little more strict when it comes to its principles, and the Kufi philosophy of Nahw is a bit open to change, and its principles are quite flexible. There are a lot of exceptions in them. On the other hand, do we have any other madrasa of Nahw? I'm not sure of, but these are kamaliyat, ما نحتاج. طيب. What are we talking about here? We say ولإعراب الأسماء 3 أحكام. 3 أحكام means 3 rulings. But what do we mean by rulings? By rulings we mean the states, or it's called in English moods, in which the word is. States or moods in which the word is. So the word Zaid can be in 3 states. It can either be Zaidun, it can either be Zaidan, it can either be Zaidin. Okay, so that's what we're referring to, like these 3 states. Now, why are we saying states and not saying Dhamma, Fatha, Kasra? Because other words, they might be in the same state as Zaid, which is called Rafa', but they wouldn't have a Dhamma. They would have something like a Waw, like Mu'minuna. So it has, instead of a Dhamma, it has a Waw. And in the Nasb state, it will have a Ya, Mu'minina. And in the Jar state, also it will have a Mu'minina, a Ya. So that is why we named states. We said we have 3 states, 3 moods, instead of saying Dhamma, Fatha, Kasra, because it's not always the Dhamma, Fatha, Kasra that is the alama of Rafa', that is the alama of Nasb al-Jar. It varies according to the type of the word. So what we are going to study in the next, like on the next page, is, sorry, the next page after that. Now, what we're going to study here is 7 different types of words. Al-Ism al-Mufrad, al-Muthanna, Jam' al-Taksir means Jam' al-Mukhtasar. We have already studied this once. We know what Jam' al-Mukhtasar is. And we know what Jam' Mudhakkar Salim is. We know what Jam' Mu'annath Salim is. There are 2 new words that we have, and that is al-Mamnoon min al-Sarf and al-Asma' al-Khamsa. These are new to us. Al-Mamnoon min al-Sarf and al-Asma' al-Khamsa are new to us. The rest we all know these words. And we know Al-Ism al-Mufrad, yani singular noun, like Zaid, like Kitab. Okay. Muthanna is referring to the dual noun. We also know this, and we know how to make a Muthanna by adding alif or no, alif and noon, or ya and noon. Jam' Mukassar, we know about it. Jam' Salim, we know about it, whether it's Mudhakkar or Mu'annath. We have studied all of these 5. So what happens is this: these are the types of Ism Mu'rab. Ism Mu'rab does not go out of these types. These are the types of Ism mu'rab. So ism mu'rab must be one of these 7 types. Ism mu'rab, if it is changing with the i'rab, it is not possible that it goes out of these 7 types. It must be one of these 7 types. So what this does for us is that once we learn this table, we are comfortable. We become very comfortable that we know we have encompassed the ism in terms of its i'rab. We know what the ism mu'rab is, and it must be one of these 7 types. I know the alamat, and khalas, with practice, this will become, inshallah, part of our bones, inshallah. So just before we analyze this table, we need to understand and learn what is mamnu' min as-sarf, what is al-asma al-khamsah. What do these 2 refer to? The rest of the terms, we are familiar with them. So in order to introduce ourselves to these 2 new terms, we have to read through this. نعم. وكل من هذه الأحكام الثلاث
وكل من هذه الأحكام الثلاث يختص بمجموعة من المعاني. فالرفع يختص بمعنى الابتداء والخبرية والفاعلية وغير ذلك. والنصب يختص بمعنى المفعولية والظرفية والحال والمنادى وغير ذلك. والجر يختص باللفظ المتعلق بحرف الجر وبمعنى الإضافة. وكل ذلك سيتبين لك في الأبواب الآتية إن شاء الله.
أحسنت. This is a very important point to understand what a رفع نصب and jar is. The Arabs, what did they do? In order to denote particular meanings, they made these states, these 3 states, which are called رفع نصب and jar. They made 3 states in order to be able to denote particular meanings. So if they wanted to denote that a word is a subject, yani mubtada, then they would make it marfu'. If they wanted to say that it and tell and express that it is the predicate, the khabar, that's the information you're giving about this mubtada, they would also make it marfu'. If they wanted to denote that a word is the doer, the fa'il, they would also make it marfu'. They would make it marfu'. Marfu' means they would use the word in this state, in the state of rafa'. Right. Then when they wanted to express that a word is an object, maf'ul, or dharf means the time or the place where something happens. Dharf, and literally dharf means a utensil or something then which which you stuff or which you put water in. It's dharf. Wi'a means like it's like a utensil like in which you put water. Now that's what dharf is. Dharf, actually here it refers to the time or place where something happens. Okay. Hal is the adverb. Okay. And munada is when you are calling some person. Okay. So these are just examples. I'm just giving you examples. So what did they do? In order to denote these meanings, they would put the word in nasb form. So if they want to express that this word is object, they would put it in nasb state. If they want to express that this word is that it is expressing the time or place where it happened, they would put it in nasb state. If they want to express that this word is an adverb, they would put it in nasb state. And likewise, if they wanted to express that it's munada and someone is calling upon this person, they would put it in nasb state. On the other hand, we have jar. Now the jar is the third state, and which we will denote by using for now the blue color, al-jar. Okay, so jar was a state that they would put a word into if it came after a preposition. So if a معذرة يا إخوان, I just happened to I got disconnected with now. So where were we? Now we were talking about what was the last point that you were able to hear, inshallah?
It was about mansoob being, attributed to maf'ul and the place
Okay.
and
So now
adverb.
I did not start jar.
No, I didn't hear anything about it. Yeah.
Okay, so just like nasb, we have jar, and jar, the Arabs said that let's make the state exclusive to words that come after prepositions, after harf jar, and let's make the state exclusive to words that are mudaf ilayh. So this is what happens, like this, when you know when a word is in marfu state, when a word is in mansub state, when a word is in majrur state, you're able to recognize and identify its role in the sentence, whether it's the doer or it's the object, whether it's the time or place where something is happening, or whether it's the verb adverb, or whether it's the subject of the sentence, or whether it's the one being called on, or whether it's being used after a preposition, or whether it is being used as a mudaf ilayh. So let me just give you quick examples of each one of these. For example, مثلا بمعنى الابتداء والخبرية. So when you say زيد, you say زيد قائم. Now this is مبتدا. مبتدا means like the subject of the sentence, and this is the khabar. This is the mubtada and this is the khabar. Both are in marfu' state. This is the Arab's way to denote this meaning. فاعلية. فاعلية means being the fa'il. So مثلا ضرب محمد زيدا. So which one of the two is fa'il? Muhammad is the fa'il. Why? Because it's in marfu' state. Okay. Now when they wanted to denote maf'uliyya, which one is the maf'ul, which one is the object, they put it in nasb state. So it had fathatain. Zaydan. Now it had fathatain. Likewise, dharfiyya. Dharfiyya is that word that denotes the timing of something. So مثلا the time or the place. So مثلا I want to say that I want to express the time of something. So مثلا الدرس, I want to say the dars is going to be قبل العصر. قبل. You see, now I put it in nasb state. I gave it a fatha. الدرس قبل العصر. It will be before asr. Al-hal. Hal is the adverb. So adverb is like it expresses how a fi'l was done. So جاء زيد. Zayd came. Zayd came while walking. ماشيا. He came while he was walking. He came walking to our house. So ماشيا was the adverb. So I put it in nasb state because this is what I wanted to express. Hal. Munada. Munada is like when you call upon someone. So you'll say مثلا يا رب العالمين. Instead of saying Rabbul Alamin, you say Ya Rabbal Alamin. Rabba. You made it again nasb state because it was being called. You used the ya with it. You see? And with regards to jar, يعني مثلا let's use the green color for this. المتعلق بحرف الجر and مضاف إليه. So whenever it is used with a harf jar, like with fi, في الدار, you will put it in the jar state, because it was used with the preposition. And also when it is used as a mudaf ilayh, like in qalam zaydin, you will put it in the jar state. So these are three different states that the Arabs had available to them, and they gave a group of meanings to each one of these states. So for rafa, we had a group of meanings like ibtida, khabariya, fa'iliya. For nasb, we have a group of meanings like maf'ul, dharf, hal, munada. And for jar, we have a group of meanings like the words that are used with harf jar or when it is mudaf ilayh. So this is the concept of these three different states. والاسم المعرب اقرأ يا أخي.
والاسم المعرب ينحصر في 7 أقسام لا يخرج عنها، وإليكم بيانها مع ذكر علامتها المختصة لكل من حال الرفع والنصب والجر في الجدول الآتي في الصفحة التالية.
And this is the mention of what we already discussed, that 7 types of ism mu'rab. It will not go out of it. إليكم بيانها, and we are going to explain it to you. with the different signs and of each state. When a particular ism is in a rafa state, what sign will it have? When it is in the state nasb state, what sign will it have? And when it is in the jar state, what sign is it going to have? But before we start, we said that we have two terms that we are not familiar with, and that is what we are going to learn in the next paragraph. في هذا الجدول قسمان.
وفي هذا الجدول قسمان لم نعرفهما قبل، وهما الأول الممنوع من الصرف والمراد به الممنوع من التنوين. يندرج تحته الأعلام الأعجمي، أعلام الإناث، الأعلام المؤنثة لفظا، الأعلام والأوصاف التي على وزن فعل، الإعلام التي على وزن فعل، صيغة منتهى الجموع وغيرها. تنبيه: هذه الأنواع المذكورة أعلاه تعامل معاملة الممنوع من الصرف ما لم تكن معرفة بأل ولا مضافة. والأسماء الخمسة، والمراد بها خمسة أسماء في حال إضافتها إلى الأسماء الظاهرة والضمائر سوى ضمير المتكلم، وهي أبوك، أخوك، حموك، فوك، ذو مال.
Now these are two types that we need to understand. These two terms that we're not familiar with, and what are these referring to? We know what ism mufrad referring to. We know what muthanna refers to. We know what jam' mukassar refers to. We know what jam' salim mudhakkar or muannath refers to. We know 5 words what they refer to, but we don't know what al-mamnu' min as-sarf refers to, and what are the words that are mamnu' min as-sarf. So mamnu' min as-sarf means, what is the meaning of mamnu' ya ikhwan? ايش معنى ممنوع?
Forbidden.
Forbidden. What is it forbidden from? It's forbidden from min as-sarf. What is the meaning of sarf? Sarf means tanween. What is the meaning of tanween? Tanween is the one that comes at the end of the words. فتحتين, كسرتين, ضمتين. طبعا we know that we're not going to say that نحو, but we name it tanween. We don't say فتحتين, ضمتين, كسرتين. We say tanween. We say tanween, like dhamma, fatha, kasra, having a tanween. Tanween means that noon sound. Tanween is taken from noon. Nawwana, yunawwinu, tanweenan. Yani to make it like a noon. So what do? We make the dhamma like a noon. We make a fatha like a noon. We make a kasra have a noon at the end of it. So this is what tanween is. So mamnu' min as-sarf means something that is forbidden to have tanween. What are the words that are forbidden to have tanween? Al-a'lam al-a'jamiyah. What is a'jami? ما في مشكلة، تفضل أخي، بارك الله فيك. That's the last topic actually that we're doing. نعم. What's the meaning of a'jami?
Non-Arab.
Non-Arab. Non-Arab. أحسنت. And what is the meaning of a'lam? It's the jam' of
proper noun.
alam. نعم, proper nouns. Jam' of alam يعني proper nouns. So names that are non-Arab. Can you give me examples of such names? Most of the names of the prophets are non-Arab names. Ibrahim, Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, Musa, Isa, Ilyas, Zakaria, Yahya, Harun, Yunus. You see, all of the names of the prophets, almost all of the prophets are non-Arabs that are mentioned in the Quran, except a few, a handful. 6 of them have a tanween, and even amongst those 6 that have a tanween, only 4 are Arabs. So this is a qaida, shabab. The qaida says that all the prophets' names are mamnu' min as-sarf. They cannot have tanween at the end. You will find in all over the Quran, the names of the prophets, they don't have tanween, except 6 prophets. Who are they? Does anyone know the abbreviation that we use to refer to them?
محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ذكر لي المقدم.
But there's this just like in Tajweed we have this, you know, these tricks like Qutub Jad or you know, like Khussa Dagtin Qidh. We have these abbreviations. We have this abbreviation here that says Sun Sham Lah. Sun Sham Lah. Sad Noon Sheen Mim Lam and Ha. Sad refers to Salih alayhi salam. Salihun, Salihan, Salihin. It has tanween. Noon refers to who does it refer to? Noon.
نوح عليه السلام.
Nuh alayhi salam. He has also tanween. وَنُوحًا هَدَيْنَا. نُوحًا هَدَيْنَا. إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا نُوحًا وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا نُوحًا. طيب Sheen. Well, who does it refer to?
شعيب عليه السلام.
شعيب. وإلى مدين أخاهم شعيبا. See, tanween. Meme. Who is meme referring to? Our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. طيب. Lam is referring to Lut alayhi salam. Ahsant. And Ha is referring to Hud alayhi salam. Ahsant. Who amongst them? You know, Hudun, Lutan. All of these have tanween in the Quran. You see, out of these six, the Arabs are Shu'aib, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hud alayhi salam, and Salih. These were Arabs. Yani, because Arabs didn't exist. Perhaps Nuh alayhi salam is the father of all the nations. You see, from Nuh alayhi salam, we have the Berbers, we have the Romans, the Arabs, the Persians, the Yajuj Majuj. You see, so Nuh alayhi salam is said to have three sons, and those three sons, from those three sons, from one of the sons, who are the three sons? Sam, Ham, and Yafith, I guess. One of the sons, his progeny are the Romans, the Arabs, and the Persians. The other one gave, I think he, from his progeny came, this is mentioned in the books of history, طبعا, Allahu alam bisihatiha, perhaps the people who are Berbers, Berber, and perhaps the people who are Africans, and Allahu alam who else, from one of the sons, and from the other third son came Yajuj and Majuj. Yajuj and Majuj are also Bashar, they are also humans. So Nuh alayhi salam is before something called Arabs existed. You see, likewise Adam alayhi salam is before we had this classification of Arab and non-Arab. But Salih, Shu'aib, and Hud were Arabs, and Salih and Shu'aib and Hud were the prophets sent to a type of Arabs that are called Al-Arab Al-Arab al-Ba'ida, or Al-Arab those Arabs that were annihilated, who were finished, who were annihilated. Al-Arab al-Ba'ida. Al-Arab al-Ba'ida. So Arabs are of three types. We have Arab al-Ba'ida. Ba'ida means annihilated ones, those who have finished. We have Arab al-Ariba, who were the original Arabs. Other than the Ba'ida, the ones who belong to Yemen, like the tribe of Jurhum, those who came to Mecca at the time of Ismail alayhi salam. And then we have Al-Arab al-Musta'raba, who are the progeny of Ismail. Because Ismail originally was a foreign, he was a non-Arab. He was a non-Arab belonging to Sham, son of Ibrahim. Ibrahim was not Arabi. So Ismail was a non-Arab, and when he got married with someone from Jurhum, then his progeny is called Arab Musta'raba, Musta'raba, who are who are Arabized Arabs. So these are original ones. The Yemeni Jurhum tribe, these are Arabized Arabs. and these are the annihilated ones who don't exist anymore. So Salih, Shu'aib, and Hud alayhi salam, their people are the Arab Ba'ida. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam belongs to the progeny of Ismail alayhi salam, Arabized Arabs, and Al-Arab al-Ariba, the tribe of Jurhum, and they exist still, they're still around. Al-Muhim. So the names of all of the prophets are mamnu' min as-sarf except these 6, Sun Shamla. Inshallah, we will continue the next steps from A'lam al-Inas and explain, inshallah, continue the explanation of al-mamnu' min as-sarf. Else it is going to take very long to finish this point, inshallah. So نكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Those who have any questions they can ask. بارك الله فيكم. طيب يبدو أنه لا توجد أسئلة، إذا نقف هنا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.